Egypt, 950 to 710 BC. It is this critical time period that marks the origin of prosthetics as we know them. Attached to the foot of a female mummy, the oldest known prosthetic limb is an artificial toe dated to this period, with even earlier writings such as the Indian Rig Veda documenting the use of prosthesis. Prosthetic limbs have existed for centuries. They were originally used for the spiritual sense of wholeness in addition to cosmetics and functionality, as prostheses were often buried with their users. Many believed they would carry over into the afterlife. Although prosthetic gizmos appeared centuries ago, the first appearance of full prosthetic limbs was in ancient Greece and Rome, and in 484 BC, a Persian soldier was documented to have used a wooden prosthetic leg to escape prosecution. As humans, limb usage is integrated into almost everything we do. While they cannot match natural limbs, prosthetic limbs are imperative for amputees to continue to function within society. Today, amputees can choose their prosthesis based on preference. Some may choose natural-looking cosmetic devices that lack functionality. These are known as passive prosthesis. Others may choose body-powered, functional devices at the cost of appearance. These are known as active prosthesis. Athletes may even use sports or activity-specific prosthetics. However, this wide selection of prostheses was not always available, and for much of history, devices were crude and simple, lacking the refinement present in today's designs. Early designs were limited by materials and the science behind them, and simplistic wood, metal, and leather devices such as the hook hand or peg leg were widespread. These devices were heavy, unwieldy, and of limited functionality. Moreover, their high cost generally meant they were only accessible to the rich. For many years, prosthetic designs remained fairly stagnant until the revolutionization by Poirier, a barber surgeon in the 1500s who created a transfemoral or above-knee prosthesis with a locking knee, fixed equinus position, kneeling peg, prosthetic foot, and suspension harness. The ideas of this design served as a basis for future innovation, so much so that some concepts introduced through Poirier's work are still in use today. During this time, hand and arm prosthetics were primarily implemented for battle utility. For instance, some metal arms were in use by individuals like Marcus Sergius, a Roman general who wished to return to battle after an amputation. In 1696, a Dutch surgeon named Peter Verdun introduced a non-locking transtibial prosthesis made of external hinges and a weight-bearing leather cuff. Then, in the 1800s, James Potts of London designed a leg with a steel knee joint and articulated foot, which was controlled by the flexion and extension of the knee. Outfitted to the Marquess of Anglesey, the device became known as the Anglesey leg, and was designed to replace the limb he lost in the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. Within the last 200 years, prosthetic devices have improved momentously in terms of their functionality, appearance, durability, and effectiveness. These improvements occurred following World Wars I and II primarily, since many injuries created a demand for prosthesis and the associated technology. In the United States, Benjamin Palmer patented the first complete artificial leg in 1847. He later went on to establish the American Artificial Limb Company to help those injured during the American Civil War. Following the devastation of World War I, the American government established research and assistance programs, such as the Artificial Limb Laboratory in Washington, to reintegrate injured men back into the workforce. The quadrilateral socket developed in the 1950s and the ischial containment socket developed in the 1980s are some socket types that are still used to this day for transfemoral amputees. Recent advancements include using modern plastics and carbon fibers to make the prostheses as lightweight and durable as possible. Additionally, modern casting and shape tracing techniques increase the user's comfort level by enabling the creation of custom sockets. As well, the implementation of electronics in the form of myoelectric devices and microprocessor controller knees marks some of the most current prosthetic technology. Unfortunately, these devices are still uncommon due to their expensive manufacturing process.
Prostheses present a huge impact both on their users as well as their societies. In the United States, for example, there are approximately 2 million amputees. Despite this obvious high demand for high-quality devices, barriers to access still exist in the world of prosthetics. Although some states like California and Colorado are attempting to make prosthetics more accessible via parity laws that render them an essential healthcare benefit, huge opposition against this movement still remains. The primary reason, unfortunately, being the cost. Legislators fear that making prosthetic services an essential benefit will drive up the cost of healthcare premium and make healthcare less accessible accessible to all. However, several studies ascertain that these concerns are groundless. For instance, a study produced by the Colorado Department of Health Policy estimates the marginal cost of prosthetic coverage to be a mere 12 cents per member per month. Similar analysis conducted by the California Health Benefits Review Program caps the cost at 16 cents per member per month. These results, among many others, suggest the feasibility of introducing parity laws at minimum marginal costs but high marginal gain in regards to patient outcomes and quality of life. But in a capitalist economy, how can we justify this higher premium other than for its obvious ethical grounds and humanitarian impact on the life of amputees? To do this, we look at a separate study conducted by the American Coalition for Amputees, which postulates that every dollar spent on rehabilitation, such as prosthetic care, saves $11 in government disability benefits, reaffirming that immediate prosthetic care results in long-term savings. So, offering better prosthetic care to those who need it is actually beneficial to society as a whole and not just its direct users. Let's look at a different study. A retrospective cohort study conducted for the Amputee Coalition of America by Dobson, DeVanzo, and Associates studies the underlying psychosocial effects of orthotic and prosthetic services on individuals and their societies. The findings, as can be seen in the figure, delineate that patients who received lower extremity prosthesis were more likely to receive extensive outpatient therapy during their rehabilitation phase. However, this initial cost ultimately resulted in fewer acute care hospitalizations, emergency room admissions, and less facility-based care. As a result, prosthesis users had comparable cumulative Medicare payments to non-users. This can be explained by the savings due to reduced healthcare expenditures, which end up offsetting the cost of the prosthetic limb and the rehabilitative sessions associated with it. Moreover, the results suggest that the device was nearly amortized by the end of 12 months, or a relatively short period of time, and that the patient experienced improved quality of life and increased independence compared to those without prosthesis. This was at essentially no additional cost to the government or the patient. In a lot of obvious ways, prosthesis influence their users by essentially giving them their life back. The technology restores their mobility, self-confidence, and emotional well-being, all of which allows them to return to their societies as active members as opposed to sedentary ones. Despite the lengths we have reached in developing cutting-edge prosthesis, the technology still remains broken. We are a ways off from being able to capture the exact biomimetics that govern our biological limbs, but current research is promising. For instance, Hugh Herr at the MIT Media Lab was able to develop the first ever bionic limbs that can function on neural command. The subject merely has to think about moving the biological limb in order to control it. This provides added control of the prosthetic as well as restores the self-confidence of its user. In summary, modern prosthetic technologies provide a definitive improvement to the well-being of affected individuals and their societies. Prosthesis users enjoy healthier lifestyles that correlate to improved mental, physical, and emotional well-being. Additionally, their utilization of prosthesis lowers the strain on healthcare system while allowing them to contribute to society and the workforce as healthy, functional individuals.
In order to better understand the impact of prosthetics on patients, we consulted some local prosthetic experts.
It's huge. So not only, first off, is body image we're a very body image conscious society, right? You can't walk through a store without seeing magazines that have been airbrushed in a certain way. So just having a prosthesis, having 2 feet, having 2 hands, helps to go a long way to ease that. But the technology, the way it's incorporated, does give people back their lives.
We have to kind of do our best to give them whatever is going to make them the most comfortable. Because if they're not comfortable, they're not going to wear it. They're not going to wear it. They're not going to be able to walk well. They're not going to walk well. Their quality of life is not going to be very good. So it's all about improving quality of life. I would say it's still like microprocessors, like the processing systems. Now that they're smaller, they're smarter, they weigh less, that has made a significant impact on kind of developments.
It pays a big dividend to society throughout, because now people remain independent, and so they don't need other care. They can work. They don't go to the hospital as often. It's incredible.
If you wanted to see the full interviews with Steve Scott or Rachel Rudolph, please check the links in the description where they will be uploaded. And thank you for watching.